What do you swear you saw, but don't have any proof of? Was living in Japan in a city called Miyazaki. Was watching TV around the Christmas season. Station was MRT is was about 10 p.m. at night. There was a station ID break and it ended with a full screen large type message in English. Merry Christmas. Fuck you. This was 1993. A comet or something explode into a giant green fireball when I was a kid. I know goddamn well I saw a zebra grazing in a pasture while visiting colleges in northern central Ohio. This was a good 15 years ago. Sitting at the campsite and a beaver walks out of the lake, like on its hind legs, and proceeds to walk like this through the campsite and into the woods like it's on its way to Pooh's house or whatever. Just strolling. I saw an ivory-billed woodpecker in college. I'm not a bird enthusiast or anything, but I saw this giant woodpecker pecking weird and I watched it until it flew off. A day or two later I saw on the news that one had been spotted near my area, and that was a big deal because they were declared extinct in 1944. I swear I saw a man walk backwards up a hill and disappear. He went out of my line of sight as he walked behind a tree and never came out the other side. I checked the tree and everything, it scared the crap out of me. An ocelot behind a North Carolina dumpster and a zebra running in a ditch on I-40. Also in North Carolina. Kathy Bates. I was working the closing shift at a Publix in Atlanta as a bagger and I swear I saw her start to leave. I went up and went, "Excuse me, did you know you look like Dash?" The woman interrupted and went, "Kathy Bates." "Yes, I know." Then she smiled and walked out of the store. Ball lightning. Thunder snow. In college we had team workouts at 5:30 a.m. during the winter. When we emerged from our dorms we were greeted by an absolutely insane lightning display combined with driving snow. The walk across campus was absolutely insane, like something from the day after tomorrow. When we finished the workout around 7, it had warmed up and had changed to rain and everything had melted. There were 25 guys on the roster and we all know what we saw, but none of our friends believed us. I swear I saw a cougar walking down the side of the road on my way home from my girlfriend's outside town at like 3 a.m. once. A lion at my parents' house when I was a kid. My older brother saw it too. Coincidentally, a lion went missing from a zoo in Ohio around that time and was never found. My brother and I swore we saw it but obviously had no proof. That winter, my parents found giant paw prints outside that definitely were not a dog, cat, coyote, etc. Years later when I was a freshman in high school, my friend's mom was driving me home and swore she saw a lion run across the road my parents live on. She never even knew the story about me swearing there was a lion out there. She was so convinced that she immediately called the police. That was all the proof I needed to know I was never crazy and know what I saw as a kid. Had some unexplainable moment when I was a child where I was playing a soccer game and was behind everyone. Suddenly my vision spun and I found myself in front of the goal with the soccer ball at my feet. I didn't feel sick or anything. Took the shot and made it. Driving on a semi-rural road south of Salem, Oregon about 15 years ago, I swear I saw some cryptid-looking bipedal wolf thing. My GF at the time was with me and we both saw it. Didn't really talk about it, just kinda accepted we saw something we couldn't explain. A Fruit of the Loom logo with a cornucopia, back in 1994. I swear in Pokemon Red one time I used Splash, it actually did a single point of damage. A corpse in a ditch on the side of the road. I was a kid, told my parents as we drove by and they got mad at me for having such a morbid imagination. A monkey wearing a football helmet driving a Volvo wagon through my uncle's neighborhood at night in 1995. I was 6 but I know what I saw. An absolutely colossal earthworm. It must have been 4 inches in diameter. I was just a kid and was coming out of my front lawn. I panicked and stomped the ground to scare it away and it worked. and every day I have regretted it since because I have absolutely no proof of this giant fucking monster living in my front yard. Me and a buddy were laying on some playground equipment after a night of drinking when both of us at the same time go, "What's that?" There was a light up in the sky about twice as bright as the stars around it, staying still in the sky, that we hadn't noticed before. Suddenly it picks up speed, goes from directly overhead to over the horizon in about 5 seconds. I saw an ivory-billed woodpecker in 1970, years after their supposed extinction date. I was in a small North Florida town built along a swampy river basin, where true believers still hope to find a remnant population. It was freaking huge, as big as our chickens. Folded wings that were white on the trailing edges. Ivory-colored bill. I know damn good and well that as of the early 1970s there was at least one ivory bill in that area, but none of the ornithologists who were so eager to search in Arkansas are interested in that area. Face with rolling eyes. A shadow person. I saw someone in my kitchen late at night who I thought was my father standing by the stove. It was dark and I jumped when I saw his silhouette in the dark. I asked him what he was doing standing in the kitchen in the middle of the night. He just stood in the dark not moving. I told him it wasn't funny, it's fucking creepy. I flipped the light switch on. I was alone. Nobody there but me shaking from terror. I couldn't see him clearly but I saw someone with his shape in the dark. I talked to it. Nobody will ever believe I saw that. I know what happened that night. I talked to it for about 30 seconds, it stood 6 feet from me. P.S. Maybe I'm fucking crazy. When I think about it, it's easier to convince me I hallucinated, had some sort of psychotic episode or was seeing things instead of what really happened. A possessed house or whatever. Worked for the local utilities reading water meters while in school. Old ass house, at least late 1700s. Was used as a makeshift hospital during the Civil War. Meter was all the way in the back and they had apparently redid the basement so there was new concrete walls but the original stone foundation was still there. Sort of like a maze. Went in and read the meter, took a wrong turn and got lost. Kind of panicked and got lost again. It was only a handful of walls because they wanted a game room and bar. Calmed down, found the meter again, followed the walls and after a couple minutes, found the exit outside. Dude I was with asked what the hell happened and told him I got lost but not a big deal. He asked how I got lost. Told him, the new walls. He asked what walls. Looked back inside and there wasn't any walls. Just a dark big ass basement. Apparently I was in there for like an hour. He came in after catching up, never saw me, walked back out, and kept on reading meters for an hour before he saw me coming back out. He assumed I walked out upstairs and was talking to the guy who owned it. I know I saw walls. I know I got lost. And it sure as fuck wasn't no hour. Edit, for those wondering, here's a link to the house on Zillow. The house was getting remodeled in the early 90s and the owner sold it a few years later when he went bankrupt. It's changed hands I think multiple times according to some people I know who still live there. It's finally getting some attention to be remodeled. It belonged to a surgeon or doctor. According to some newspaper clippings, the basement was used as a makeshift morgue and the rooms upstairs were used as horse during the Civil War. Old-timey house with some pics. https://www.zillow.com/home details /5-0-4-wndhyphen-st-maysville-ky-41056/234521389_ZPID. I swear I felt/saw a serial killer or something at a Chinese restaurant my family and I were eating at. My dad and I were at the end of the table just focusing on talking to grandparents and eating. Some guy we were completely unaware of that whole time stood to leave behind us and every hair on the back of my neck raised up. I've never felt anything like it before. Something was just incredibly wrong about him and I didn't even have to see him to feel it. My dad and I shared a look, and talked about it later. He said he felt the exact same thing, but said the guy looked completely normal. It's never happened with anyone else. I don't know what that was. It's been like 12 years, I just called him to ask if he remembers and he definitely does, lol. Okay, I get how cliché and fake this sounds, but just bear with me. My parents bought a very large but old and decrepit New England home. I was running around it relatively alone back when I was barely elementary school aged. I was running up the stairs. At the top it takes a 90 degrees turn onto the floor. I remember getting to the fourth-ish step from the top, grabbing the top railing and swinging around to the floor only to see something. It looked like a wide human leg made out of wood, but where the knee should be was a deep-socketed face. The entire thing looked like it was melting, kind of like E.T. covered in mud. I just remember freezing and looking up to lock eyes with it. Then it started moaning in a way that sounded like warped wood moaning in pleasure from the pain. Obviously I booked it out of there and hid in the family car. Now, I'm not saying I saw something supernatural. I've always had a very overactive imagination. I routinely saw stuff as a kid, like faces in collection of leaves on branches. That being said, I remember seeing something so clear that was just there 1 second, then gone the next. I swear I could hear it moaning and screaming, even as I write this.